The desert wind howled, sweeping across the empty red dunes like a ghost searching for something lost. Twin suns hung in the sky, painting the land in orange and gold. The air shimmered with heat, and the sand moved like water. Jace stepped over a cracked rock, his boots crunching against the dry ground. His visor was dusty, but even after wiping it for the 10th time, the structure still stood there, massive, ancient, and impossible. No map showed it. No scanner had ever picked it up. But there it was, half buried in the dunes. A giant stone pyramid, shaped like a blade, pushed into the sand. He wasn't alone. A few meters away, a girl stood quietly, her long cloak fluttering in the wind. But she wasn't human. Her skin had a soft violet hue, marked with glowing lines, like gentle tattoos. Her hair was white like ash, her eyes bright and alert. She looked no older than 20, if Jace had to guess. She had appeared out of nowhere earlier that day, stumbling toward him while he was repairing his survey drone. At first he thought she was a mirage, but when she spoke, her voice was clear and calm. "Only a human can open it," she said now, gazing at the pyramid. Jake turned his head toward her. "Open what?" She pointed to the center of the ancient stone. A strange symbol was carved there like a spiral inside a triangle. It shimmered faintly, pulsing with energy. "The door," she whispered. Jayak narrowed his eyes. "What is this place?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and began walking toward the pyramid, her bare feet leaving small impressions in the hot sand. Jace hesitated. He had no weapons, no backup, and no communication with orbit. Still, something about this girl and this structure drew him, and he followed. They reached the base of the pyramid. Its stones were smooth, untouched by time, though clearly thousands of years old. Strange markings ran along the adjacent he could recognize. The girl placed her hand on the pyramid. Nothing happened. She looked back at Jace. "Try it." He frowned. "Shh. Why me? You're human," she said simply. "That's enough." Reluctantly, Jace stepped forward. He placed his hand on the strange symbol. The stone beneath his palm felt cold, too cold for the desert. Then it began to vibrate softly at first, then stronger. A deep hum rose from inside the pyramid. Suddenly, the symbol under his hand glowed bright blue. The wind stopped. Air turned heavy. Then, with a low rumble, the pyramid responded. A line of light split down the middle of the stone wall. Slowly, the hidden door began to slide open, stone grinding against stone, revealing a dark corridor within. Dust poured out like breath held for centuries. The girl backed away, her eyes wide. "It's really opening." Jace stepped back, too unsure if he should feel proud or terrified. "You knew this would happen?" he asked. She shook her head. "I didn't think it would respond. Not this fast." Jace stared into the darkness. Cold air rushed out. The scent was ancient stone, rust, and something metallic. The walls inside were lit by thin glowing lines, matching the ones on the girl's skin. "What is this place?" he asked again. She hesitated. "My people call it the Vault of the First War." Jace raised an eyebrow. "War with who?" She turned to face him fully now. "With your kind," blinked, unsure if she was serious. "That doesn't make sense. Humans only reached this sector 70 years ago." She didn't smile. "We fought your kind long before you ever knew space existed." "How old do you think I am?" he joked, but his voice was tight. "The pyramid remembers bloodlines," she said, "and yours. It must match one of them." Jace looked down at his hand, still tingling from the contact. The door now stood fully open. Silence inside. Cold, dead silence. "Why bring me here?" he asked. "Because I need help," she said, her voice suddenly softer. "I'm being hunted. And this pyramid may be the only place left where they won't follow me." "Who's they?" Jace asked, eyes narrowing. She didn't answer. She only stepped toward the doorway, her glow fading slightly. "Come with me, human," she said. "Or stay out here and wonder what you just woke up." Jace looked at the open door. The air pulsed once like something inside was breathing. He followed. The moment Jace stepped into the dark corridor, he felt it like stepping into another world. The air changed. It was cooler, heavier, as if soaked in ancient secrets. Behind him, the twin suns still burned over the desert, but inside the pyramid, everything was still. Still, the glowing lines along the walls shimmered faintly, lighting the way forward. They curved and danced like veins, leading deeper into the unknown. Lyra followed close behind, her bare feet silent on the smooth black stone. She hadn't spoken since they crossed the threshold. Jace glanced back once. The door was still open, but the desert outside already looked far away, like a memory fading too quickly. "I feel like we're being watched," he whispered, though his voice barely echoed. "We are," Lyra said quietly. Jace froze. By who? Her eyes were fixed ahead, and her glow was slowly fading, like her own energy was being drained just by being here. The corridor curved downward, spiraling like a funnel, and soon the light behind them vanished. Now the only thing lighting the path were the glowing threads in the walls and something strange. The deeper they went, the more the walls pulsed, like the pyramid was alive, breathing, watching. They reached a large chamber round, domed and hollow. In the center stood 3 pillars, cracked but still standing. Each was covered in carvings, not just symbols, but images, creatures, ships, battles. Humans. J.A. stepped closer to one of the carvings and froze. It showed humans' Earth-style uniforms, old plasma rifles, even Terran fleet insignias. But the strange part wasn't the gear, it was who they were standing with. Aliens, dozens of different races, including one that looked exactly like Lyra. The murals showed them fighting together, not against each other, but as allies. Something bigger. He turned to Lyra, stunned. This is from Earth's first contact? She walked to another pillar, ran her fingers across the images. This is before that, long before. Kind came once before, then disappeared. Jace looked again. There was no mistake. The man carved on the stone had Earth tech holder, rougher but recognizable. Then his eyes caught something else. Below the carvings was writing, not alien. English. Faded, broken, but real. It read, "We were chosen. We were betrayed. We will return." Jace's pulse quickened. "This shouldn't be here," he said. "This is impossible." Lyra stepped into the center of the chamber. The lights in the floor activated under her feet. The walls began to vibrate softly. From the ceiling, a glowing mist descended and formed into a slow-turning spiral. Then the whispers started, faint at first, like echoes, then louder like voices. Murmuring from just behind the walls, male, female, alien, laughing, crying, pleading. JC spun around. "Do you hear that?" Lyra looked pale. There the echoes, the memories trapped inside. This place, it's not just a tomb. It's a recorder. Just moved toward the spiral of light. The moment he reached out, his fingers brushed against its hand. A flash of white filled his vision. Suddenly, he wasn't in the pyramid anymore. He stood in a field of stars. Before him floated a massive fleet, human and alien ships moving. Together, then flames, screams, betrayal, a dark weapon rising from a broken world. And at the center of it, all one man. His face was hidden in shadow, but Jace felt something strange. Connection. Like he had seen this man in a dream more, a nightmare. The vision snapped back, and he collapsed onto the stone floor, gasping. "What did you see?" Lyra asked, rushing to his side. "A war," Jace muttered, "and someone, he looked like me." "Almost exactly." Lyra didn't seem surprised. "This place holds the memory of your kind," she said. "The first humans who came here. They weren't scouts, they were soldiers. They made a deal with my ancestors. And that deal ended in blood." Jace shook his head. Why would they come here and disappear without a trace? Why didn't Earth ever learn about this? Because those who returned were erased, Lyra said darkly. Silenced. Some secrets were too dangerous for your people. Even your own leaders feared what the truth might bring. Before Jace could respond, the chamber trembled. The mist twisted violently. The glowing threads on the wall pulsed like warning lights. Something was coming. Then came the sound low, mechanical, like metal scraping stone. From behind the far wall, a shape stepped forward. It was tall, 9 feet, shaped like a statue but alive. Its eyes glowed bright red, and its body was made of black and gold armor fused with stone. A guardian. The voice that followed was ancient and loud but not shouting. It was like thunder behind glass. Genetic match. Human. Access granted. The guardian stopped. Its head tilted toward Lyra. Unauthorized presence detected. You must leave. Lyra stepped back. Her glow flared, then dimmed. I'm with him. You are not recognized. The guardian raised one arm, and a weapon formed from its palm, a slow-burning energy spike. Jace moved in front of Lyra without thinking. Stop. She helped me get here. The guardian paused. It looked at Jace again. You are protector class. Will you defend her? Jace stared at the massive machine. If I have to. The weapon retracted. Then judgment is yours. But understand this. The vault is now awake. The guardian turned and slowly faded into the mist, its body becoming part of the wall again. Lyra exhaled shakily. It shouldn't have activated yet. Jace looked at her, his voice low. What the hell did we just wake up? Behind them, the door they had entered through suddenly closed. The air thickened again. The whispers grew louder and deep beneath the chamber. Something shifted. Something ancient. Something alive. Shadows moved through cracks that hadn't opened. In centuries, and somewhere far above the planet's surface, an old beacon blinked for the first time in generations. Something had heard. Something was coming. The stone beneath their feet trembled again, but this time it wasn't just a distant rumble. It was a pulse, steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. The walls shimmered faintly, the glowing threads inside them flickering faster now, as if sensing change. Jace stood still, eyes scanning the chamber, breath tight in his chest. Lyra moved closer to him. Her skin, once glowing gently, was now nearly dark. The pyramid was draining her, or worse, rejecting her. I don't like this, Jace muttered. It feels like the place is breathing. Lyra nodded slowly. It's because it is. A deep groan echoed through the chamber, and one of the stone walls began to split, revealing a corridor that had not been there moments ago. A long hallway lined with tall figures stood inside, shrouded in shadow statues, or so Jace thought. Each one stood twice his height. They had the shape of warriors, broad shoulders, arms like columns, heads like polished helmets of metal and stone. They carried no visible weapons, but even from this distance, Jace could feel the weight of their presence. They're the Guardians, Lyra whispered. The vault's last defense. Before Jace could ask more, one of the statues twitched. Then, another. One by one, the figures blinked to life. Glowing red lines shot across their chests, pulsing brighter with every second. Their stone limbs cracked, shifted, and finally moved. They were not statues. They were alive. The chamber dimmed. Every light in the walls turned crimson. The energy around them shifted from curiosity to warning. The first guardian stepped out of the corridor and into the open. Its footsteps were slow but heavy, shaking the ground. Its face was smooth metal, no eyes, no mouth, yet it somehow looked straight at Jace. Designate confirmed. It said in a voice that didn't sound like sound. It echoed inside his head, deep and cold. Human prime. Presence detected. Initiating recognition. What's it saying? Jace asked, glancing at Lyra. Her face was pale. It thinks, you're someone important, too important. Another guardian stepped out, then another, forming a triangle around them. 3 giants, each perfectly still, surrounding the human and the alien girl. Jace tried to step back, but the guardians followed his movement like mirrors with minds of their own. Lineage match confirmed. Authorization level unknown. Protocol initiated. What protocol? Jace snapped. I didn't agree to anything. The floor beneath him lit up in a blue circle. The walls began to spin slowly, then faster. The entire chamber rearranged itself, rotating like gears. In a massive lock, the ceiling above cracked open, revealing a bright light that poured down directly onto him. And then the first guardian raised its arm. From its palm, thin energy blade extended, humming softly. It stepped forward. Jace raised both hands. "Hey, no. I'm not fighting you." But the guardian swung fast. Fast. JSC ducked, barely avoiding the strike. The blade left a glowing mark in the stone where he'd been standing. "Are you crazy?" shouted, stumbling back. Lyra ran toward the edge of the circle. "They're testing you. You have to survive. You don't have to fight back, just last long enough for them to stop." Jace rolled away from another swing, heart pounding. The second guardian joined in, moving with inhuman speed. They didn't seem to want to kill him, but they weren't holding back either. Every strike felt precise, controlled, measured. They were observing, watching. The third guardian stepped in suddenly, faster than the others. Jace wasn't ready. The blade grazed his arm. A sharp burn tore through him. Blood hit the stone floor. Everything stopped. The guardians froze in place. The blue circle vanished. The red lights turned white. Silence. Then the third guardian slowly lowered its arm. It stepped back. The blade vanished. Test concluded. Candidate viable. Blood offered. Judgment passed. Jace fell to his knees, gasping. His arm burned, but the cut was shallow. He looked up, sweat rolling down his face. What? Revising wins. I can interact. Lyra rushed to him. Checking the wound? They've accepted you. Accepted me for what? The role of protector, she said. This vault, this place, was built to obey the bloodline of those who once led the old alliance. You match someone in that line. A warrior, a commander. Not a commander, Jace muttered. I'm just a surveyor. The guardians turned slowly, returning to their positions inside the dark hallway. The moment they stepped back, the corridor sealed behind them, vanishing into smooth stone as if it had never existed. Only one guardian remained. It turned to Lyra. Its red eye scanned her, unauthorized. Lyra's glow flared briefly. With him, you are not of the line. You were created by it. Jace stepped forward. She's under my protection now. You pass judgment on Meath and honor it. It was a long silence. The guardian's head tilted slightly. Order acknowledged. But be warned, her kind opened the first gates and closed them with fire. Then it faded, its body melting into the stone, leaving only silence behind. Lyra stood still, her eyes heavy with something unsaid. What did it mean? Jace asked. But before she could answer, the walls lit up again, and this time, a panel slid open, revealing a staircase descending into the planet itself. Ancient air flowed out cold. Touch Jay stared down into the abyss. Lyra looked at him. We just passed the first lock, she whispered. The next door won't be guarded by machines. Jace looked at his bleeding arm, then at the path ahead. Whatever was waiting down, Darrett remembered him. Even if he didn't remember it, and somewhere deep in the dark, something else had started to stir. Watching, listening. The vault was fully awake now, and the galaxy would soon know it. The stairs were narrow and carved into the rock, spiraling downward like a drill into the heart of the world. There were no rails, no lights. Only the glow from the wall's faint veins of energy pulsing along the edges, guiding their path like ancient lifelines. Jace's footsteps echoed with every careful step, and the blood from his earlier cut still dripped down his arm, trailing behind him in small dark drops. Lyra moved behind him in silence, her presence quiet but heavy. Hadn't said a word since they passed the Guardian trial. Something about that last message, the one that accused her kind of fire, and betrayal had struck her deeply. They walked in silence for what felt like hours, and then the staircase simply ended. No door, no wall. Just a wide platform overlooking a hollow space so dark it looked endless. But there, directly ahead, stood a single stone altar. It rose from the darkness like a tooth, untouched by time. Symbols circled its surface, glowing softly. Unlike the walls, these markings were different, older, deeper. As they stepped onto the platform, the lights flared softly, welcoming them, or warning them. It was hard to tell. Jay approached the altar. "What is this place?" Lyra finally spoke. "The memory chamber." He frowned. "What does that mean?" She stepped beside him, her glowing skin flickering weakly. "The ones who built the vault stored their most powerful truths here. Secrets of war, of creation, of betrayal, death." Jace looked at the stone. It was shaped like a table, but too tall and too wide for any normal being. There was a shallow groove in the center, lined with tiny crystal-like shards. It almost looked like it's a place for a body. Before he could think more, his blood still dripping touched the edge of the altar. The moment it did, the groove lit up with violent blue light. Jace stumbled back. The floor trembled. The platform itself began to rise, lifting them into the air below them. The darkness stirred. It wasn't empty. A giant chamber opened underneath, revealing hundreds of metal sarcophagisal coffins lined in rows, stretching into the darkness like a forgotten army. Every single one bore the same crest, a triangle, a spiral inside it, and below. A human silhouette holding a spear. The light from the altar flowed outward, racing across the rows of sarcophagi. Each one responded with a dull hum, as if waiting for something or someone. Then the one directly below them opened. Gas hissed out. Steam poured up. And inside was a man, or what was left of one. He was dead. Clearly a skeleton now, still wearing old Earth Federation armor, scratched, burned, broken in places, yet intact enough for Jace to recognize it. "That's human," he whispered. Lyra stepped closer, her voice shook. "That's him who..." She looked at Jace slowly. "My mother's protector. He was the last human to enter this vault before you." Jace stared. "He died here?" "No," she said softly. "He was sealed here. He chose to be." Jace dropped to one knee, examining the armor. The name tag was broken. Only the first letter remained. J. He felt strange, like something, and his chest was vibrating as if the air was thicker. He reached out, and the moment his hand touched the cold armor plate, everything around him vanished. Suddenly, he wasn't in the vault anymore. He was somewhere else. A battlefield. Red skies. Burning cities. Ships falling from the clouds. On the ground, humans and aliens fighting together. Bleeding. Screaming. Dying. He saw the same man from the coffin, young, alive, shouting orders, fighting side by side with Lyra's people. And then, betrayal. A fleet of Lyra's kind ships marked with the royal crest turning their weapons on their own side. Humans cut down, their ships destroyed, their leaders abandoned. Then the final memory, the man wounded. Carrying a glowing child, Lyra's mother, into the vault, he closed the door behind him, set the guardians, locked the truth away. Then climbed into the coffin and waited. Jace snapped back. He was on the floor. Lyra was shaking him. "Jace, are you okay?" Gasped, trying to breathe. His heart was pounding like a drum. "I saw him. All of it, the war, the betrayal, the child, your mother, saved her." Lyra nodded, tears glowing in her eyes. "Now he saved you." Jace looked at the armor again. Suddenly a small click echoed. From the chest plate, a piece slid open. Inside was a small chip glowing faintly blue. Without thinking, Jace picked it up. The vault responded instantly. All the lights changed from blue to white. The sarcophagi below shut themselves again. The platform lowered, returning to the stone floor. But this time, a new door opened. Not ahead but above. A spiral stairway of light extended upward, toward the heart of the pyramid. Lyra turned to him. That chip, it's a memory core. It carries more than just images. It carries commands, access, control. What kind of control? Jace asked. She paused, enough to open every vault like this one. Across the galaxy. Jace stared. At the glowing chip, everything changed. This wasn't just a buried tomb, it was a beacon, a key, and now it was in his hands. From the shadows, a distant roar echoed through the pyramid. Faint but real. Lyra's face went cold. They're coming, she whispered. They followed the signal. Jace clenched the chip in his fist. He looked at the open staircase. There were no choices left, only paths, and his had just begun. The spiral stairway glowed softly, urging them up. Jace moved first, his boots echoing against each step, the memory chip clenched tightly in his palm. Lyra followed close behind, her eyes darting from shadow to shadow, her glowing skin now flickering. Nervously in the shifting light, every turn higher felt heavier. The vault itself was changing. Gone was the cold silence of before. The air buzzed with an electric charge, as if the very walls remembered every step they took. Faint voices, like the ones they'd heard before, whispered just outside the reach of hearing. Sometimes Jace thought he heard his own name in the echoes, sometimes another, always urgent, always ancient. When they reached the top, they stepped into a chamber unlike any they had seen. The ceiling was a giant glass dome, now cracked but still strong, showing a narrow strip of alien sky. The chamber was round, every inch of its walls covered in writings, some human, some older than both. At the center sat a raised platform, and on it, a strange pedestal like a computer terminal fused with stone. Jace's hand tingled. The memory chip in his palm pulsed with warmth. Almost without thinking, he moved to the pedestal and placed the chip inside a perfectly shaped slot. The moment he did, the entire dome came alive. Lights flickered. The wall symbols glowed and shifted. Holographic images burst into the air above them, maps, battles, faces, whole galaxies spinning in slow motion. Human and alien figures shaking hands, then fighting, then falling together. Lyra gasped. These are histories. The vaults, everywhere. But then, one map zoomed in, showing dozens of points across the galaxy. Each was marked with the same symbol from Jace's visions, the triangle, the spiral, and the silhouette with the spear. They hid them all, Jace whispered. Hundreds of these vaults? What for? The answer came not in Lyra's voice, but inside Jace's head. The memory core spoke, not in words, but in thoughts and emotions. He saw old battles, humans and their alien allies fighting against something vast and monstrous. The vaults were built not just as tombs, but as fortresses, hidden. Strongholds, meant to awaken only when the right bloodline returned. But it wasn't just history the core showed him. It showed danger. From outside, a heavy sound rattled the glass dome. Jace turned sharply. On the horizon, lights appeared, ships, dozens of them, moving fast over the dunes. They weren't friendly. The banners painted on their hulls were the royal mark of Lyra's old enemies, the empire that had hunted humans out of this part of the galaxy. They're here, Lyra breathed, panic in her voice. They want the vault, and they want me dead. Jace's heart raced, but the memory core in his mind spoke again. Showing him the layout of the vault, he saw every passage, every trap, every defense. But there was something more, a command that only he could give. The pedestal shifted, showing a sequence of symbols. Jace pressed his palm to the glowing panel, letting a drop of blood fall onto it. The vault's walls began to hum with power. All across the pyramid, ancient weapons powered up, targeting the ships above. Lyra stared in shock. You're waking. The vault's defenses. But Jace realized something else. The vault wasn't just a bunker. It was a command center. The core flashed images of other vaults, dormant but waiting for activation. Their own guardians ready to rise, if summoned by the right signal. Suddenly, an alarm echoed through the Duma-high keening sound. One of the ships had fired a shot, striking the pyramid. The ground shook, dust raining from the ceiling. Lyra grabbed Jace's arm, fear in her eyes. "We can't fight them all," she said. But the memory core pushed a final vision into Jace's mind. A man standing in the same dome, long ago, facing a similar attack. He had sent out a call for help, and the vaults had answered. Jace slammed his hand on the pedestal again. The room filled with light. All the maps merged into one, beacons flashing all over the galaxy. Waking, waiting, listening, the ships outside circled for another attack, preparing to land troops. But suddenly, the ground beneath the pyramid rumbled more violently than before. Old engines roared to life, ancient technology, long hidden, now waking for the first time in centuries. Lyra stared wide-eyed. "What's happening?" Jace's voice was calm now, almost not his own. "The vault isn't just a fortress. A ship." As the walls began to split and the pyramid started to lift from the desert floor, Lyra grabbed Jace's hand. For a heartbeat, she smiled, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. Below them, outside, the enemy soldiers stumbled as the sand erupted and the vault ship rose, breaking free of its ancient grave. The glass dome glowed with power. Ancient weapons locked onto the enemy fleet, and the vault's systems sang with the voices of all those who had come before. Above the rising dust, a single message flashed across every control panel in the chamber and echoed in Jace's mind. Protector awakened. Human Prime returned. War protocols initiated. For the first time, Jace understood the truth. This was never just about the past. It was about who would control the future. The vault ship. Carrying secrets and survivors, lifted into the sky while, far across the stars. Other vaults began to flicker awake, answering a call that had been silent for hundreds of years, but the battle was far from over. Enemy ships pursued. The memory core blazed with warnings. And at the heart of it all, Jace realized he was no longer just a survivor or explorer. He was the key. The whole galaxy was about to remember the power of the humans they once tried to erase. The vault ship groaned as it broke free from the sand, shattering centuries of silence. Outside, enemy ships circled like hungry birds, firing beams that scorched the pyramid's stone hull. Inside, alarms blared and walls shimmered with energy. Ancient engines grinding to life after ages asleep. Jace held the pedestal, feeling its pulse under his hand. The memory core in his palm grew warmer, its power running straight into his veins. Lyra pressed close to his side, her eyes wide not with fear but awe. The entire chamber shook as the vault ship climbed into the sky, carrying them above the swirling storm and out of the desert's reach. Through the cracked dome, Jace could see the enemy fleet moving to intercept. Sleek black ships, royal hunters, spread in a wide arc, blocking their path. As the vault ship rose higher, a dozen enemy soldiers launched from one cruiser, landing on the pyramid's hull with magnetic boots. They carried pulse rifles and blade spears, moving in teams, quick and silent. Jace's mind raced, searching for options. The memory core fed him visions, hidden corridors, defense turrets, a network of old traps deep within the ship's bones. In his mind's eye, he saw the path to the control bridge, but it would mean moving fast, and the enemy was already inside. "We need to get to the command deck," Jace said. "They're boarding us." Lyra nodded. "I know the way. Follow me." She dashed through a sliding stone door that hissed open at her touch. Jace followed, both of them running through winding corridors, the walls glowing with warnings. All around, the ship's old defenses hummed and rattled, turrets popping from hidden slots, firing at anything that moved in the outer corridors. Screams and weapons. Fire echoed from somewhere deep within the vault. The ship rocked as enemy soldiers blew open a side door, flooding in like a black tide. Lyra led Jace down a spiral staircase, each step trembling under their feet. Suddenly, a door in front of them exploded outward. Two enemy soldiers stormed in, pulse rifles raised. Jace didn't hesitate. He raised his arms, and the memory core pulsed. An old energy shield flashed to life between them, blocking the blasts. Soldiers reeled, surprised, and Lyra hurled a piece of broken stone at them, knocking one down. Jace charged forward, pushing the second soldier back and slamming the door shut with his heel. "We have to keep moving," Lyra shouted. They ran again, twisting through the maze-like halls, chased by enemy footsteps and shouts. At a split in the corridor, Jace stopped, unsure. "This way," Lyra urged, grabbing his hand. They burst into the command deck-wide circular room lined with old control panels and a single, throne-like chair at its heart. From here, windows showed the chaos outside, enemy ships closing in, flashes of gunfire lighting the sky. Jace threw himself into the chair, pressing the memory chip against a central panel. Instantly, the ship responded, the controls lighting up, the engines humming louder. Words flashed on the screen. Defense systems online. Manual control activated. But then the door behind them blasted open. Enemy soldiers poured in 8, maybe more, all armored and moving with deadly focus. One of them, taller than the rest, wore a crest that glowed blood red. The leader, he pointed at Jace. "Step away from the controls. Hand over the memory." Core Lyra put herself between the soldiers and Jace, her skin glowing brighter in challenge. "You will not harm him," the leader sneered. "Out of the way, half-breed. You're worth nothing, alive or dead." Before Jace could speak, the memory core in his hand grew white-hot, and an ancient voice filled the chamber, not his own, but booming and powerful, echoing from every wall. "This vault belongs to the Protector. Intruders depart, or be judged." The soldiers hesitated. The leader snarled, signaling his men to open fire. But before a single shot landed, the ship responded. Energy barriers flared up, separating Jace and Lyra from their attackers. Old defense turrets dropped from the ceiling, spitting stun beams. One by one, the enemy soldiers fell, stunned or thrown back. The leader alone remained standing, his armor sparking. He glared at Jace. "You can't win, human. The Empire owns this system. You are alone." Jace stared at him, breathing hard. "I'm not alone, and I'm not leaving." He pressed his palm to the command panel, and the vault ship responded, rocketing higher, engines roaring as it pierced through the clouds and into orbit. Enemy ships chased them, firing everything they had. But the vault's shields held strong. Then the memory core flashed a final vision in Jace's mind, a galaxy map. Dozens of vaults blinking to life in distant systems, all answering the same. Call Lyra touched his shoulder, smiling through tears. "You've done it? You woke them all?" Leader cursed, pressing something on his wrist. "Reinforcements are coming. You'll never make it out." Jace stood, unafraid. "Maybe not today, but the humans are back, and this time we're not alone." The vault ship soared into space, enemy vessels trailing behind. But Jace felt a growing hope as distant signals lit up across the stars. Old allies were waking, ancient enemies stirring. The true war was about to begin, but for the first time in centuries, the humans had a protector again, and the galaxy would never be the same. The vault ship raced through space, stars spinning past its cracked glass dome. Warnings flashed across the control panels and most ships in pursuit, more jumping in every second. The Royal Fleet's biggest cruisers moved to cut off every escape path. Still, the ancient engines drove the ship faster than any living pilot could manage. Old technology, half forgotten, roared awake for its chosen protector. Inside, Jace gripped the command chair, sweat running down his face. Lyra stayed close, her glowing skin a soft beacon in the cold blue light of the control room. Below, captured soldiers remained behind force shields, angry and silent. The enemy leader, now a prisoner, glared at Jace with hatred and a hint of fear. The memory core in Jace's palm pulsed stronger than ever. He could feel not just this vault ship's systems, but distant signals, dozens, then hundreds answering his call across the galaxy. Ancient vaults, long buried or hidden, blinked to life as the map before him filled with growing blue points. Some were still dark, silent, but more and more were waking. The ship shook as another missile struck the shields, lighting the dome with a brilliant flash. Jace called out, "Divert power to engines. Prepare for jump." Lyra raced to the panel, fingers flying over glowing controls. We need more time, Jace. The core is still charging the jump drive. Alarms wailed. Enemy ships were closing in, forming a blockade around the vault ship. Through the dome, Jace saw flashes of light new ships arriving. Some ancient, some brand new, all answering the same signal he'd sent from the memory core. Suddenly, a transmission crackled over the speakers. A voice, cold and metallic, spoke in the language of Lyra's enemies. Protector, surrender. There is no escape. The last human command ship will be destroyed, and your line erased forever. Jace stared at the map. So many blue signals each. A promise. But here, at the edge of everything, he was still alone. Or was he? He pressed the memory core, searching his mind for the answer. The core flared, and images flooded his vision. Flashes of history of humans and aliens together, building these vaults to protect what mattered most. Not just weapons, but hope. Old alliances, forgotten friendships, bonds deeper than DNA. Suddenly, the main screen lit up. Dozens of faces appeared, alien commanders, old and young, from every corner of the galaxy. Each wore a badge or mark, something from the ancient alliance. Jace had seen in the vault's memories. One alien, with emerald skin and golden eyes, spoke first. "Protector, do you call for aid?" Jace stood tall in the command chair, heart pounding. "We do. The old alliance must rise again, or the darkness will win." A pause. Then another alien, armored and scarred, nodded. "We have waited for this day. Our ships will come." All across the star map, vaults signaled back doors opening, shields rising, ships launching. Not just war machines, but people. Fighters, healers, engineers, families all, those who once fought with humans now answering the ancient call. Outside the dome, the enemy fleet pressed in, but now blue streaks lit the sky. The first of the Alliance ships broke through, opening fire on the royal blockade. The tide was turning. Lyra squeezed Jace's hand. Her voice shook, but she smiled. "You did it. The galaxy is waking up. They're remembering what humans stood for." Jace smiled back, the old fear burning away. "I didn't do it alone. You believe too. So did all those who built these vaults. Now it's time to finish what they started." A huge blast rocked. The ship one last effort from the enemy's flagship, now locked in a duel with 3 allied cruisers. The jump drive's charge reached full. The vault ship was ready. "Set the coordinates," Jace ordered. "We're not running. We're leading them home." Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes as she programmed the destination. A free planet. Once the heart of the old alliance now ready to rise again, the vault ship surged forward, breaking through the blockade with the new allies at its side. Behind them, more vaults awoke, old guardians rising. The memory of betrayal turning into a new beginning as they jumped through the stars. Jace looked back one last time, feeling not just like a survivor, but like a leader. He was not the first protector, and he would not be the last. The galaxy, once split by war and lies, now had hope. All because one human, with an alien girl at his side, chose to open an ancient door and answer a forgotten call. The adventure wasn't over. There were more vaults to free, more allies to find, more wrongs to make right. But for the first time in ages, the darkness was breaking. And everywhere across the stars, the message spread: the humans had returned, and with them, the power of unity and hope.